Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her king. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and heaven. And the Mobius Couch, a time-space interdimensional vehicle from which your three hosts survey the world of comic book movies and comics and
movies and comics
and heaven and nature. But anyway, Welcome to the Mobius Couch. I'm Alessandro, and as usual, I'm joined by Patrick.
Hey, Alessandro, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm just singing hymns.
I heard.
That's all. I wasn't singing, speaking hymns, I guess, which is, the word, the Lord, the word, speak.
Yeah, our Lord and Savior.
All that. And also joined by Joe.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
Okay, I just answered that, though.
I know, but it wasn't to me.
Okay, but I'm doing fine. But we're here today to talk about...
Shh. Patty, how are you?
Oh. I'm good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Glad to hear
All right, go ahead, Al.
We're here to talk about Miss Marvel by Willow Wilson and Adrian. Is it Alphona?
Alphona, yeah.
Alphona.
It's Alphona, right?
It's gotta be Alphona.
Okay.
Alphona.
It's one of those things with comics where I don't really know how to properly
Here's the
pronounce
thing,
it.
it's
Yeah,
not like they're
pronunciation's
movie stars.
not our strong point.
Their names aren't spoken out loud.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
read it, and you read it for years. Like, for instance, Runaways, which is where Adrian Alphona was first introduced to at least me and Patty. How about you?
No, I've known Adrian. Like, we go way back.
Oh, you go way back?
We go way back.
Well, how's he say his name?
I do call him Double A. I usually call him Double A.
Oh, you just
A
call
squared.
him double A. But how does he say his last name?
He says...
I mean, you've known him for years.
He usually just says Adrian. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've known him for years. How does he say his last name?
Alf.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Adrian Alphona,
Miss Marvel.
He drew the Runaways a long time ago.
He did.
That's where we knew him from. Honestly, it took me a second to realize that it was him, because it's been a while since I've seen his art.
He did Runaways and then just kind of did a mic drop and walked away from comics for a long time.
Okay, so he did.
Yeah.
He wasn't like doing things that I was unaware of. He just kind of like walked away. Okay.
Well, he did do some French erotic fiction. He drew that, but maybe that wasn't
Mother
on your
and
radar.
Sister in Bondage.
Yeah, maybe that wasn't on your radar. A lot of stepsister, stepmother stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But so we're here to talk about Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
When did this come out?
Khan.
2014. When did this come out? But this is probably
13?
the most of the comics we've covered so far. This is the most sort of recent new hero we've done, right?
2014.
Oh, for sure. In terms of like 2014.
No, brand new IP, new
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
Like
Like
this
a
is
new
a
property,
brand new
sure,
hero.
yes,
This is the
absolutely.
newest one we've done.
We've covered characters in current comics, sure, but like those characters came out a million years ago.
Yeah.
In terms of this character, it's the first one we've done that's like brand new, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So let's get right into.
I mean, 2014 in terms of comics,
She's a
yesterday.
baby.
Yeah, she's a baby. Yeah.
Well, in terms of a human life, it's so long ago. It's how many COVIDs
Well, that's
ago?
the point. Comics doesn't work
Yeah.
in terms of human life, Al.
I guess that's
Batman's
true.
been 35 for 80 years.
I mean, the fact she's only been around for 8 years, she's definitely become a very big part of the Marvel universe.
She's got her own show already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but even I was reading like Champions. It was like the super team she's on. It's all the younger heroes, and that's really good. And she's a very fun character in that.
I like her. She's got moxie. I like her
Definitely,
spirit.
yeah, for sure. It's weird being in person with y'all.
Like, hey, we should talk about that. First time in person. Oh,
going to
we're all
mute.
in the same room.
Going to mute
Yeah,
my
usually
mic.
There's
we
nowhere
go-
is the mute button.
Yeah, usually we mute each other or ourselves rather
Yeah.
when the other person is talking. We're like, hey, let's be kind and just hit mute when the other person's
We can
speaking.
do this like a monkey.
Like Al was doing his song intro, and usually I'm laughing out loud, but I'm muted, so no one knows. But, but tonight I had to just cover up my mouth and go, the whole time that was happening.
Why is it weird?
It just feels like the way we're talking to each other just feels weird. It feels weirder in person than it does over Zoom or whatever. Like,
So I just want to let both of you in on a little secret.
Yeah, what's up?
Listeners don't give a fuck.
No, they
whether
do. You know what's
we-
gonna happen? Tonight's episode, no matter what we're talking about, it's gonna be like, lightning. It's going to be amazing.
We know what would make this an amazing episode is if we actually talked about the comic.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's dig in.
Yeah, Miss Marvel. G. Willow Wilson is the writer.
I want to talk about the writer. So let's just start off with might get us.
Can Patty finish this thought?
Oh,
no, I mean, I please do. It's interesting because she converted to Islam.
Yeah, I want to say, so let's start with the convo that could get us canceled, just to get it out of the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's interesting.
So she's white. She's just a white person from Jersey who decided to become Muslim and then wrote about a Pakistani girl in a comic. Is that okay?
I mean, if you convert to a religion, I feel like you have some semblance, some building blocks to stand upon.
Yeah,
versus just somebody else writing it.
I think we can't really speak to it because I don't know how accurate her depiction is.
That's the problem.
I don't know.
So
I have no experience with that.
It seems that there's nicknames and vernacular.
Beta. They call each other betas a lot.
So beta, I was like, oh, that's funny. He's calling his son a beta, and then I was like, oh, it's like a term of endearment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think he means alpha male beta.
There's more of that in there, and I was like, I'm ignorant, so I felt wrong almost reading it. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be reading this. This isn't for me.
They're just little, beta, beanie.
It wasn't just that. It was like the prayers and the like all the terminology. I'm like, I feel horrible. Should I feel this bad?
You shouldn't feel horrible.
I don't know. I mean,
you should. You're a horrible person.
Yeah, I am.
You shouldn't feel horrible because of that.
Well, you feel like fucking Zoe being like, I don't understand your customs, or you got to go out and you kind of feel like
that's kind of my point. Yeah. Like I'm like, I identify with this ignorant white girl. That doesn't understand what she's saying, and I'm like, well, now I feel.
But I didn't like
should I know more? I should know more.
I mean, I don't want to overplay this because it's not like this is a, intro to Muslim American lives or whatever.
Right,
but I did appreciate the kind of exposure you get to.
That's true.
Later in, I can't remember which issue, but there's an issue where Kamala, which I think, given the show, is pronounced Kamala and not Kamala, like our vice president. I think that's but it's Kamala is how the show is pronounced.
Kamala enunciation.
Honestly, the funny thing, so my experience with this character is very low. Like it's always been in a group setting. Like I haven't read her book. This is the first time I read it, but I always said it that way in my mind, Kamala, not Kamala, like the vice president. But like I was just like, am I saying it wrong? I don't know.
But so anyway, I forgot what issue it was, but she has a conversation with her imam at the mosque about why she's been late or whatever.
Yeah.
And the imam just sort of like gives her a supportive, oh, well, then just be the best hero you can. I mean, if you've read the comic, like that whole scene. Yeah. But anyway, scenes like that, I thought, well, I enjoyed those.
Yeah.
To get like a more human dimension to the religion and culture.
To him. So that was interesting too.
Because you also earlier, they do mention earlier in the comic how women and men have different sections of the mosque they go to.
Yeah, they walk in different
and she
doors.
mentions how she's afraid of the imam, like he's this kind of conservative boogeyman.
Yeah.
But then he's not. I just kind of liked the multidimensionality they brought in to the still. There's some conservative aspects to the religion, but also supportive.
Her two parents kind of embody that as well. Like the mom seems more like, why did you bring us to this country? Like, this isn't how we should be raising our children. And the father's like, this is better for them. They, they're absorbing other cultures and they understand what's going on.
So that was nice. But having said that, right, I don't know if the author thing is just...
that's kind of what I'm saying. So like,
that was strange.
In terms of my odd feelings in reading it and going like, this feels wrong, that I'm even reading this because I'm probably saying it wrong out loud in my mind. The fact that the author is just like a converted white person makes me go, well, how much of this is now I feel even worse. I'm like, is this accurate? I don't know.
I don't know. But I read her Wikipedia, so she lived in Egypt for a few years. I think married an Egyptian man as well. So she has some direct experience.
I think she's. I want to say Neil Gaiman is like a fan of hers, and I feel like
then I'm out.
I don't know.
Then I'm out.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'd say bad thing. Neil Gaiman, for those of you who don't know, has a series of short stories that he wrote, which he titled something like The Prince of Stories. Like, he gave himself the title The Prince of Stories.
This is a tangent I've ever heard one. Go on.
Who the fuck names themselves like the Lord of the Novel? You don't like Neil Gaiman? Come on.
You know what's funny is that I just
Come on.
read a tweet by him or something about how he has really bad imposter syndromes.
Oh,
It's
well,
like-
he's overcompensating. And then he's definitely overcompensating with his book titles. But this is not about Neil Gaiman. But so let's talk about the comics. So Miss Marvel.
All right, hold on. We should get to overall takes. What's your overall take?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I love, I'm a sucker for like anything with dogs in it. So I love the Lockjaw parts. He's adorable.
Yes.
I thought the bad guy was pretty funny. I mean, I enjoyed it as a run. I read the first sort of 12 issue like intro run to Miss Marvel, but I loved it. Also, going back to my friend Adrian, love the art in this. Like it's really
What's his last name again?
no. So I just I don't know how to describe it. It's not the most thematically deep or
it's not.
or rich text, but as a new superhero introduction and like a mainstream Marvel comic run, I thought it was great. And I enjoyed
So
it.
the Terrigen mists?
Again,
Terrigen?
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
That's why I said it both ways.
Terrigen.
That whole thing going on in the Marvel universe at that time, that was like, so she's like a byproduct of like that Inhuman story arc that was happening.
Oh,
Barely.
real timeout.
Oh, sorry.
If each of us breathed in some Terrigen mists, what would be your power? Go.
That's not a real timeout. That's like a
Go.
thing that we should say on the
Go.
show. What? It's
Go.
an amazing idea.
Go. What would be your power if you breathed in Terrigen mist? And it can't just be what you want. It has to be something that's a natural outgrowth of who you are.
A natural outgrowth?
Because isn't that
Who
how
I
it
am?
works? It's like it's your innate genes that it changes into powers, right?
I mean, it's because you have Kree alien DNA.
Yeah, we all
You're
have that.
exposed to
We all have
Terrigen.
that.
I don't know if it has to do with like your.
I mean, all three of us have it. I don't
We
know
all
if
have
everyone
Kree
has
DNA.
it.
Go. What would be your power?
I mean, Patty would just be like master of the squats. Like he could just do like
You
million
could just
squats.
hold a deep squat.
I can hold a squat for 5 minutes straight.
I mean, we'd call him the bull. He's just like master of the squats.
What power would I have? I
Yeah.
don't know. I would probably be like something shitty, like invisibility or something.
Why is that shitty?
Why does that?
Because
First of all, that's
what
not
do you-
shitty, but also like that's
Well,
gonna
first of
play-
all, you
that's
can-
gonna play to your strengths. What do you think your strengths are?
As far as what? Like, can I run
Physicality,
fast?
like,
Well, why did you go to invisibility? Why was that?
Because if I'm at a bar and I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
order a drink,
No one sees.
no
you.
one sees me.
Okay, so
Okay, so you would be invisible. Okay, so you get
Alright.
invisible powers. There you go.
let me ask you a question. You're invisible. You're touching your own dick. Can you aim your pee into the?
You can't. I think it's totally disorienting.
Is
You,
it?
you
But
probably
you-
run into stuff all the time. You probably have no idea.
Just because your own body's invisible,
You just
you'd
see
miss like a step and then just careen
Yeah.
down the stairs.
From your perspective, you're just a pair of eyes that are floating around a room.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be weird. Yeah.
All right. Well, so he's invisibility.
So I'm
powers.
gonna
What would
go on the
yours?
opposite end of the spectrum. I would just like burn like the sun.
Okay.
What?
You
So
know,
he-
Patty's invisible at a bar. I walk up to the bar. The guy's like, "What do you fucking want?"
So we're just creating the Fantastic Four. Like, what are we doing? We're just recreating the
Hey,
Fantastic Four.
you asked.
Okay.
And what can Al's power be?
I guess I could either stretch or be a giant scab man.
No, what would you actually choose?
Well, between those, I'd choose stretchy over being a monster.
No, stop Fantastic Fouring it.
But you
What
guys
would-
already Fantastic Four it.
It could be the Incredibles.
Hey, listen, I didn't say I would burn like the Human Torch. I said I would be as bright as the sun.
It's like
So you
Dazzler.
Yeah,
or something.
I'm just like fireworks. Yeah, just I'm not saying I'd be on fire. I'm just saying like I'd walk into the bar and they'd be like, "Holy shit, that guy needs a drink." You know, that kind of.
I don't know what I would do. I sort of have like a hunchback. Maybe I would turn into a ball and roll.
Hunchback?
Maybe I'd be a roll like the Bug
What
and
kind of
Justice League.
Forager.
Forager. Maybe I would turn into a forager and just roll.
I'm really disappointed in you.
I don't know what else to say.
I guess
I mean-
I don't understand the.
Premise?
Well, it
Yeah.
has to bring out something in you, right? It's got to unlock your Kree DNA to give you something. This is how the Terrigen mist
like
work.
your
All right, so
physical abilities
you know what?
or
Here, hold on.
your-
Back up. This is what we're doing. Ready? I'm gonna tell Patty what he is. You're gonna tell Al what he is. Al's gonna tell me.
I don't like that.
Yeah. And here's why. My
This is
favorite
gonna
memory of
ruin-
Patrick is
This is going to be
playing
ruin
soccer,
some friendships.
and he he would just run up to playing defense. He would just like run up to somebody on offense and just like get low and just they would just careen into him and just like bounce off him like a rock. Very Fantastic Four again. However, I think your power is in your strength and in your ability to like be strong.
You'd be
where
like a
other people are
juggernaut.
fucking pieces of paper and just rip across your body and like I've watched it happen in real life. It's amazing.
So you're like a juggernaut.
Yeah, he's like the juggernaut. Yes, thank you.
A Terrigen
so not
juggernaut.
like the Thing, but like a juggernaut. That's how I see Patty.
An invisible juggernaut.
Hey, an invisible
Sounds
juggernaut.
good.
There you go.
All right, now who do I do you next?
Well, Patrick does you or you do me?
I feel like yours would probably be more like because you just know shit all the time, and me and Joe are like, how do you know that shit?
You're the Professor Xavier.
I don't ever know anything, but sure.
Oh,
you know a
come
lot.
on.
You know a lot of stuff. So I could see it being like a what is his name from X-Men that knows how to speak every language, and there's also the other X-Men that just like Prodigy. He just like absorbs. You absorb information that retains more so than I think most.
Yeah, I was gonna say more of a Brainiac 5 and less of a Professor Xavier. Like
Yeah,
more,
like-
less telepathic, but more just super intelligent.
Yes.
But
That's
I'm
kind
not.
of what I'm trying
But
to
I
say.
don't.
But you
I
are.
think
But you
I'm
are.
sure.
You
Oh,
just
but
don't
my
see yourself
power,
that-
my
you don't see
power would
yourself
be
that way.
super.
But
okay,
I
then that would be
was
super
thinking
cool.
about this because I'm like, you're probably the smartest person I know, and I think you just think you're not smart because
I'm a failure of a man who's
Well,
achieved
not-
nothing. So for you, Joe, I would go for a not quite a Professor X, but like a more manipulative version of Professor X. Like a more, I would go for kind of a because you're my earliest memories of you are like a pizza franchise manager controlling people. So I think the Terrigen Mists would unlock your empathetic / telepathic abilities.
Manipulation, though.
Yeah.
Specifically,
but in a manipulative
specifically
sense.
in a bad way.
Like if you wanted to read someone's mind to like,
I see.
I'll make them feel happy, you couldn't. But if you were like, oh, I'll make them do this thing I want, then you could.
So I think
like a
that
manipulative
goes
Professor
hand in
X.
hand with what I was saying. Whereas I walk into a bar and the bartender's like, "That guy needs a drink." Overwhelming, shines like the sun charisma.
Yeah.
charisma.
So having said all of that, Miss Marvel got stretchy powers from the Terrigen Mists.
She can also change size.
I was actually
Like-
kind of
And
shocked
clothes.
at the.
And clothes.
Yeah, she
And-
can like.
Yeah, she's a shape.
But
Well, it's the
different-
Kree, right? No, that's Skrulls or shape changer.
One interesting thing is they kind of make the point being like the more you have to use your regenerative ability, the less you'll have the ability to shape change.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
the
think she's
Heisenberg
slowly-
uncertainty principle.
yeah.
You can either know speed or location. She can either heal or change.
But it seemed like the more she had to use the healing, the more she permanently lost her ability to like change.
To like fully change
to, like,
her appearance.
change in a sense, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of wondering, because again, I haven't read this character well enough, so I was kind of wondering where and how that kind of fell into place. But yeah, it's mostly like the big stretchy ability. But like, so that first few issues where she does the, I'm gonna look like Captain Marvel literally and have blonde hair and like, and I was like, what? She could do that?
Yeah.
Like, so that blew my mind. But knowing later on that dies off, that makes sense now. Like, because I've always known her as that character that stretches.
I thought that was cool too. And again, I don't know if this is what the author meant, so I apologize if I'm pinning extra meaning onto whatever.
Sure, okay.
But I thought that she started by copying, a blonde white hero,
Yeah, right.
and then finding
Found her
her
own
place
identity.
as her
Yeah,
own
I agree.
hero was a cool little twist to it. Again, I don't know if that's
I think
specifically what they were going for.
I think it was intentional.
But I thought that was a neat little message of like when she first gets powers, she just says like, well, the only heroes I've known are
Our
blonde
Captain
women,
America
are
and blonde
Captain Marvel and blonde
and
women. But then,
Iron Man.
yeah.
And
But
Thor.
as she grows more confident in her superhero-ness, she says, "Well, no,
She's like,
I'm
"No, I wanna be
me.
me."
I can
Yeah,
do that."
yeah.
And I thought that was kind of
I
a
appreciated
cool.
that. Patrick, we didn't get
construction.
your overall take of the book.
Yeah, I mean, overall take the storyline. It was fine. It was fun.
Yeah.
The villain is Thomas Edison clone.
Birdman.
That's
Yeah,
also
cloned into a bird.
half cockatiel. That's using teenagers voluntarily sacrificing their life force to power his machines. That was kind of odd. The character of Kamala is great.
Yeah.
And Wilson did a great job of writing her like an actual teenager. I love the dialogue, very witty. She's a newbie hero. She makes some pretty big mistakes. it was a nice change as opposed to teenage superheroes like Robin and Batgirl and Superboy. The DC, especially those types of teenage heroes, they're kind of like mini adults. Like they actually look
they
like
kind of
just
have their shit together, like basically from the beginning. Like,
so
they tend to.
It was kind of fun to see, what an actual 16-year-old girl would do if she had powers and she's sneaking out of her house to go fight crime. And then the art, Adrian Alphona, Adrian. I was obsessed with his stuff on Runaways. Runaways was like reigning champion, is my number one comic book for years. His style has changed dramatically.
In a good way. No, not.
I still I went to revisit the Runaways, and his art and that still holds up to me.
I mean, that was just a great.
It's just so much more stylized in Miss Marvel. And what I mean by that is like some of the adult men specifically, like their heads are enormous.
And they look like caricatures.
Yeah.
Like Chatty Bobby. What is it? Chatty something?
What is Chatty Bobby?
It's like the random guy that fills in for Bruno when he's not at the Circle Q.
Yeah, well, even like
his head was like a ball. I was like, is that a person?
Yeah.
Well, even her parents, like her father has a weird body shape.
Huge,
and
then like Thomas Edison's sidekick has like an enormous head.
Yeah.
That stuff was a little Uncanny Valley creepy to me a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
It reminded me of that Phil Collins music video from back in the day when they're all puppets, and it's terrifying. Yeah. That being said, he has always done a very good job of drawing teenagers and making them look like teenagers down to the clothes they're wearing. Like in Runaways, that was a very prevalent thing.
Yes.
When you compared the
him
Runaways
being able to tap into like, and maybe this at the time he was younger, and it made more sense. But him being able to tap into the fashion sense of like teenagers at the time like mattered to me.
Especially because speaking to Runaways specifically, later runs and other artists, I can't
tried to do it.
I can't remember the name. No, but what they didn't like, I can't remember the names, but I've seen other artists do Runaways, and they look, the girls especially look hyper like sexualized and curvy, and Alphona did not do that in his, and so I kind of appreciate.
So continue.
No, so his art is fantastic. It always has been. It's definitely different, and I to the point where I've read Runaways numerous times, the same first 18 issues, and I think I was 3 issues into this run when I was like, "Who is the artist? It looks familiar," and I was like, "Holy shit!" I didn't think.
I didn't realize it came.
So it's still fantastic. I loved when she uses her powers, how like it kind of has that yellow glowing hue to it. Overall, I loved her character. The storyline, I don't think it really needed to be that interesting as far as the story goes, because this whole point of the first storyline was to just establish her character.
Yeah, they kept it simple.
Yeah, they did a very good job of making her a very, very, very likable character. I think critic compared her to Peter Parker a lot, and I think that's a fair comparison. Not that they're the same, but they have that same type of like youthful spirit where you really believe.
Yeah, but like the down to earth problems of like, I don't have any money for film, and I'm running around with my camera trying to take pictures of me. Like sell it to the Daily
There's
Bugle.
that tinge of like general human insecurity that's running.
Well, even like her first costume is a burkini. Which
burkini.
She uses that to create her.
And she's like, "Mom, where's my burkini?" Yeah. She's like, "You haven't ever worn it."
And she's like, "You're putting it on now to go out at night?" What?
She's like, "Just maybe for a party." Shockingly, or not so shockingly, my response overall very similar to Patty's. I don't have a whole lot to add on to that. I mean, I wish I did. I think it's about this whole storyline was weak, and I didn't love it. But in terms of like birthing a new character in today's comics is almost fucking impossible.
Yeah.
And like the fact that they just latched on to like, the Terrigen Mist is like doing a thing. Let's just do something. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like I liked the characterization of her though, and that's kind of what you were saying. I mean, basically, I just agree with you 100%. I liked her characterization. I really liked who she is as a person.
Yes.
And the art was, I thought, good.
The art's fantastic.
I know, but you were like, but it's not as good as Runaways. But I disagree. I really like where his art is gone.
I thought,
I really like where his art has grown to. I like the weird body proportions. I really enjoy where he's gone with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Runaways, where it's very structured and very normal proportions for people and everything. I don't know. I just really liked him exploring size and shape And even within the microcosm of like, this panel's from far away, so they get more blobby, like, versus like it's a zoom in panel, so I'm going to draw this person's face. When they zoom out, it's sort of like it's just a shape, and he's like, that guy's a circle head. There was a scene in the early books the early issues where she was rescuing the kid's brother, or Bruno's brother.
Oh yeah.
And there was a guy in the background. I was like, what am I looking at? Is that it was basically a circle with like weird things just flying off the side of his head. And I was like, what am I looking at? And then like pages and pages later, it zoomed in on this background character. And I was like, oh, it's just a guy with a big head. Okay. But also that was very strange. Like it just looked insane. And I was like, what the heck?
I did love that about it, because
Yeah.
if you were far away, he would only do like
he would just do like
emoji.
gesture drawings.
He would do
it was
frown
very
faces or
it was
smiley
very
faces.
gestural,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed that though. I liked it a lot.
No, that's what I'm saying. I loved it. It was funny. It was a fun way to.
That being said,
Yeah.
so I was flipping through. I mean, I don't know how you guys read it, but digitally they had the like some of Adrian like his sketches and stuff at the back, and it was like, this is who Kamala is, and like just kind of like looking into like different clothing and that kind of thing. Also, one of the things that G.I. Zoe, and I was like, is it Zoe or Zoe? Now you're fucking with me, Adrian.
G.I. Zoe.
It said G.I. Zoe, and
Yeah,
she
but
was
it's
wearing
Zoe.
camouflage, but it's Zoe.
Yeah, but it's
Everyone
yeah.
thinks it's Zoe. Is it Zoe?
Yeah.
Or
In
is
the
it Zoe?
TV show, they said
We
Zoe.
don't know. Yeah, is the TV show right?
Yeah, it's canon.
Is it?
It's canon.
I don't know. Anyway, I just like seeing his character character designs at the back of the book was like, that's the best. That's what he's so good at. He's so good at
Yes.
like drawing teenagers and children and just going like, this is how people dress. And I'm like, oh, I love your realistic clothing.
I do think he was like the perfect artist. For
Yeah, I
this
agree.
book.
Yeah.
I also liked the I don't know who did the color work, but I love the color palette. Pastel's the wrong word, but it's like subdued bright colors a lot. Like I liked the
so
color work.
There's like a pencil to ink to color to like finished colors, kind of like step by step in the back of the book, and it's very interesting because like it's not until that last bit where they like finish off the effects and they add all the lighting in and stuff that you go, oh, and that's the feeling that I got through the whole book.
Yeah,
Does
but
he not
it's
do-
very like television cartoon or sort of
I
like
think he does
that
it all.
kind
Does he do
of.
it all?
I don't know who did the colors.
It says Ian Herring does the color art.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that too.
No,
like the
yeah,
color
I
palette.
thought Adrian did everything, but if it was someone else, then they definitely deserve credit because it was done very well.
Yeah, but speaking of, okay, so I know we just kind of trashed the story as being simplistic or whatever. I do want to focus in on, I loved the Wolverine team up.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
That I loved that issue. I thought it was awesome. Like
I
their
did
banter
not love
was
it.
hilarious. I
Yeah.
loved it.
The only
When
thing
when he said like I don't have healing factor anymore, and she goes, "Oh, so you're just an angry short man who hits things?" Like I love
Yes,
that. That was
great.
awesome.
That was great. That being said, that's exactly to my point. This comes from a period of time of like Marvel specifically, but comics in general, that I was kind of like dipped out.
Yeah, I didn't know
I had
Wolverine.
no
Yeah,
idea like Wolverine, like
Lost healing.
even when he
power.
had that costume on, I was like, oh, that costume, that was from what I wasn't really reading. But apparently, like no healing factor,
I
and
don't
like,
know
and I was
about
like,
that,
what?
yeah, I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
that.
I guess I'm gonna roll with these punches and just read the arc.
He still has metal bones somehow.
Shouldn't he
but
be
yeah.
dying though? He doesn't have a healing factor. Anyway,
Shouldn't it be like Mother Gothel from Tangled, and he'll just be a 1,000 years old, like, just crumble to dust?
yeah,
You've been shot 7,000 times. Now you don't have a healing factor.
Well, but
Typically,
the-
in every other story, that person would crumble to dust.
No, but the stuff that's been healed just stays healed. It's only
Does it?
new.
But
well,
I mean,
I'm
if you
How
had
much of his
metal-
original person is left?
like, if you had metal in
Yeah,
your body,
can his actual muscles
I don't know.
move a metal skeleton?
because the skeleton weighs like 300 pounds.
Yeah,
there's no way
it's-
to-
yeah, he's like sinking to the bottom of
Yeah.
the sewer.
Aren't his muscles constantly healing just to move
All right.
his skeleton?
Regardless of the logistics
All
of
right,
moving a metal skeleton without a
Yeah,
healing
the
factor.
Wolverine issue.
I
Was
love their little repartee.
yeah, no.
her
Well,
fangirling out about Wolverine
Yeah.
being with her was adorable.
I also liked, as someone whose first exposure to Wolverine was the 90s cartoon show where he basically is just like, oh, Jean doesn't love me. Like that's his whole character in that show. I love the show, but Wolverine is kind of a one-dimensional beta. And I don't mean like Pakistani endearing beta.
Yeah,
I mean beta male, like a loser beta male. But in this one, like, I don't know, I thought he was just very charming as the kind of older mentor. Because even when I thought it was neat too, because when he meets her, you could see that maybe you could write it to where he would just say like, go away, kid, it's not safe for you.
Yeah.
But he just takes it at face value.
He sort of does, but not really.
But he sort of just takes it at face value of, oh, well, here's a new hero, come along. Like, let's just figure this out.
Superheroing enough to where he's just like, yeah, okay.
But I think
I've done this.
I just mean that I appreciated that character.
Yeah, no, I thought it was
just
great.
having him be like, all right, kid, let's come along.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
But I think that was a way, kind of how we talked about in Strange Adventures, to make Mr. Terrific look really amazing. You put him next to Batman.
Yeah.
He's got Batman's respect, so we all respect Batman, so you respect Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were kind of doing here, because I think if she was really out of her element, Wolverine would have been more adamant about, you need to go home, kid.
Also, if it was like real Wolverine, though, would he have reacted the same way?
I think so, because Wolverine's character, I think
so.
in the last 10 years or so, he was the head of the Jean Grey School for a while. They've really made him kind of that more
he's mellowed into
grounded,
a mentor.
mentor type character.
That's true.
Because he does kind of at the end of these 2 issues.
Also, I love that bit like about her going like, wait, am I mutant? For like a second, and I was like, that was cool. Because she didn't know. She doesn't understand what the Terrigen Mists are. She didn't get it.
But I also like the dynamic of how they still, Wilson still had Miss Marvel basically do everything they needed to do.
They didn't like.
So I like that dynamic of
Wolverine
Wolverine kind of coming in and all right, I'll figure it out at the end and save us. She did all the work, and he was kind of guiding her through it.
And he was like, "Hey, hit that giant alligator in the eye," that kind of thing. There was a lot of that.
But that's how in a whatever in non superhero, but like a normal professional context, like that is a good mentor. A mentor who guides you through it, lets you do it and learn it, and sort of.
By the way,
I like that relationship.
So her religious leader.
What is it? How do you pronounce it? What is the religious leader called?
Oh, Imam? Yeah.
Imam.
Is it Imam?
Imam, yeah. I think, yeah.
Okay.
Imam.
When her
Because Iman was a black supermodel in the 80s. But Imam, I'm serious. She was married to David Bowie. Yeah, but Imam is a Muslim leader.
When her Imam is like, I know you can't tell me what you're doing, but I just want you to do what you're doing in the best way you can do it and be like a respectful, strong, like lists all these, aspects of a strong person. And he's like, please just do what you're doing in that way. And that way I know you're safe, kind of thing. And then she's like, yeah, but what you said about finding a teacher, like, how do I do that? And he's like, well, I've found in the past, like when you need a teacher arises, kind of thing. In your mind, was that Wolverine? Because it was not for me. When I flipped the next few pages over and I'm like, oh, it's Wolverine? That was like mind blowing.
Yeah, no, I would have assumed if anything,
expecting like anyone else.
or Captain Marvel or something.
Yeah, well, that's the obvious choice, but literally anyone else. The fact that Wolverine's off doing something by himself actually makes sense because that's what he does. And so it's like there's this weird what a weird idea, but also makes so much sense in the terms of like who those characters are. And I really loved that. Like the random teacher that she falls upon is Wolverine. Why the fuck is Wolverine in this comic book? But made a lot of sense, and it worked in a way that was so weird and just gelled well within the story arc. And I really enjoyed it.
Plus, Wolverine hooks her up with the Inhumies.
Yeah,
the other Inhumans.
Inhumans, yeah.
Oh, quick Inhuman side note.
Yeah.
So I saw Doctor Strange 2 recently. Awful movie. Do not recommend it.
Yeah.
Why the choice to not ever say Black Bolt, but only introduce him as Blackagar Boltagar?
Oh my god!
Who made that choice? How insane is that? So first of all, listeners, Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans, his name is Blackagar Boltagar.
Yeah, obviously.
But then in this movie, they never say oh, this is Black Bolt of the Illuminati. They only introduce him as Blackagar Boltagar.
Blackagar Boltagar.
Blackagar Boltagar.
I mean, imagine you get superpowers and you join the Avengers, and my super name is Pat Wall.
It would be Pawa.
And they're like, "What's your real name?" I'm like, Patrick Wall.
Patrick Wall. Yeah.
You just shortened your real name for your code name? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, your name's not as cool as Blackagar.
Blackagar Boltagon.
It was fun that he exploded his own brain.
No, yeah, his
That
death.
wall.
His death scene was awesome. The only good part of that movie was him blowing his own
Patrick,
head
what
off.
were your powers?
Invisibility and Juggernaut.
Oh, Juggernaut invisibility.
Pawa, the invisible
Pawa.
Juggernaut.
No, it's not Pawa.
Because it sounds like power. Pawa.
Power.
It
know,
doesn't.
it's
That's bad.
Pawa.
That's horrible.
That's
Don't ever
great,
do.
actually.
No, it's horrible. It's the worst. It's the worst.
People ask me what I prefer to be called. I'll be like, well, my friends call me Pawa. Like, what friends are these?
The friends that know my powers.
Hey, Illuminati, I'm Pawa, the invisible Juggernaut. Can I join your group? I mean, I'm a pretty big deal. I'm an invisible Juggernaut. I'm a pretty big deal.
I've actually been here for like 3 days.
I'm the immovable force you've all been bumping into the past 4 days. I'm Pawa.
Well,
But
when Miss Marvel started, wasn't it true that in the comic books, because Marvel no longer had the film rights to the X-Men, they were purposefully like tanking the X-Men storylines.
That's
and
correct.
Trying to boost the Inhumans.
That's
to
correct.
Make people care about the
That is
Inhumans.
100%.
Is that a
Yeah.
real fact?
That's what the
Yeah.
Terrigen Mist whole story arc is about.
Yeah.
Did it work?
No.
I feel like people still don't give a shit about the
They
Inhumans.
All
don't.
it did was it just tanked the X-Men books and no one. gave
It
a shit
did tank
anymore.
the X-Men books, and then, but
but it did not
House
make
of
people
House of
interested.
10. Johnny
Johnny
H. got in
H.
there.
saved the
Johnny H.
X-Men.
got in there.
Yeah, he did say them. But it was funny that you brought up the X-Men 90s TV show because that's apparently what, when I was reading up on
What?
Willow Wilson.
G. Willow Wilson?
Yeah,
You can
G.
call her
Wilson.
G.
You just call her G. Will.
She became a comic book fan from reading an anti-smoking pamphlet that featured the X-Men and then started watching the animated TV show.
Good
and
for
that's
her.
how she became a fan of comic books.
Good for
That's
her.
pretty much
That's why
right.
they're bringing it back.
Yeah.
It's all G. Will.
I mean, I'll definitely watch it.
Oh, sadly, I will too. All right, what happens after Wolverine? Tell me about it.
Oh, so then, well, she meets the Inhumans and Medusa, and when she's an Inhuman, and then she gets. So I loved Lockjaw in this. When he shows up with like a sign on his neck saying like "I need love, I'm Lockjaw"
Yeah.
or whatever, I love that. He's the best. She's the best. Is Lockjaw a boy or a girl? Do we know?
I think it's a boy.
It's
Probably neutered. Probably neither. He's probably fixed.
I can't tell because I feel
It says,
like
"Hello,
Lockjaw,
my name is Lockjaw.
I need
like
hugs. I like hugs. I love that.
I feel like Lockjaw he's got like pretty high intelligence, right? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's smarter
yeah,
than your
he's-
average
yeah,
dog.
He's not
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
That's not a dog.
Do you think he's like a human mind trapped in a dog body? Because that's horrifying.
It's not a human mind, but
That's
it's
horrifying.
more than a dog.
I feel like he understands human speech though. He just doesn't talk like.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's more than a dog.
Let me try to
It's
Wikipedia.
less than a human mind trapped in a dog's body.
Let me try to Wikipedia.
But also,
Lockjaw
let's
and
search
see.
the internet with Lockjaw licking my shoulder. It's hard to do.
Also, it does kind of speak volumes at how successful this character has become because it's kind of insane that you took one of your bigger superheroes
Yeah.
and made a spin-off from that, but it's a character that has no relation to the
To that
original,
main character,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
powers are not like the same
remotely.
whatsoever.
Yeah,
So I mean that was a pretty big risk.
it's a
I
big,
think.
yeah,
Like,
it's a big risk / leap. Yeah, it's a big move. On
I
their
mean,
part.
she's become such a popular.
They took
character,
the name of
but-
Miss Marvel and went, let's go in this fucking insanely different direction.
Right.
And it's like wildly popular. And it was a good move on their part, I think.
Because I think, I mean, I remember when the comic first came out, I was like, this makes no, I didn't read it back then, but I was like, why are they, this makes no sense. She has stretchy powers, but that was just my stupid brain, like not being like, you know, so used to being like, oh, well, Superboy has the same powers as Superman.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
you know, Wonder Girl has the same powers as Wonder Woman. So yeah, I thought that was a very,
You just made
what? I made you fart?
continue.
What?
Can you-
that was what I had to say.
Oh, I
Is
was
that,
gonna
is
say-
that your
I was
Terrigen
gonna
power?
say
You
you
can
made-
make people fart.
That'd be a great,
You can.
I mean,
cause
I would
other
use that
people to
power
fart.
all of the time.
What's the end of the story arc?
Well,
How's
she
it work?
defeats Bird Thomas Edison.
Let's talk about Thomas Edison. There we go.
Okay, well, Thomas Edison was like a huge piece of shit, apparently.
Yeah,
He was very
agreed.
much, but he was also not. So I.
But if you mix him with a canary brain,
It's a cockatiel.
cockatiel brain,
Cockatiel.
very intelligent.
Well, but, so here's the thing.
Not evil at all.
I recently read a U.S. history book around that time period. Thomas Edison was not like a genius inventor that you think he was.
No, didn't he steal?
He was like he was a tinkerer, like manufacturer who made money.
Stole patents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was not like genius at a workbench. Yeah,
I stole people's patents.
Yeah, but he was not like genius at a workbench. Here is electricity.
I mean, we all know Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity with a kite and a key.
Why was there a key on the kite? I never understood
to
that.
get because it's metal. The metal to get
it's
the lightning.
It's so obvious.
You gotta catch the lightning. You gotta catch the lightning, dude. But so I just wanted to make that point that Edison wasn't like a genius, but this cockatiel like creates pretty advanced robots and shit.
Well, clearly the cockatiel brain aspect of him
made him smarter.
Made him smarter. Yes,
maybe
made him
that's
better.
true.
More easily accomplished.
And so his plan was to tie up the youth of America into batteries so that.
Hey, what did you think about Bruno having a random jar of snot that made cloth stretching?
It was just kind of interesting how your best friend is a super genius inventor. That's very convenient for you.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So that moment, among others, is why I go back to story not great, but I love the characterization and I love the character. So I'm willing to kind of go, yeah, okay. I'll just throw that. Of it was typical. I'll throw that in the garbage. But like also her origin was like, just Terrigan-ness. Like that's what we're going with. And I've said Terrigen and Terrigan this entire episode. It's okay. The point is like that's how she got her powers. Yeah, all right. And I'm just gonna like superhero origin.
Yeah.
That was the problem with the story arc for me. It was just like stereotypical bullshit, throw in the trash can. Oh, your friend invents a polymer that can make your clothes stretch.
And your power
and you're in high school? No. Throw it in the garbage. But her characterization was so good.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it so much that I was willing to move past those aspects of the storyline.
I do appreciate the trying to be different or go super complex can go wrong on a lot of ways. So I do appreciate the, you know what, we're just going to keep it simple.
Keep it simple and make it easy. Yeah. However, those easy parts could have been better.
That's true. I mean, I agree. I do agree.
That's all I'm saying. But it's her characterization that pulls the story through.
Her character is fantastic. So as Al just said, evil Thomas Edison's plan was to use teenagers as batteries and basically suck their life force out to power his machines. Mm-hmm. And she discovers the plan, goes to foil it, and when she goes to rescue, she's like, "You're all free." And they say, "Oh, we're actually here voluntarily. We want to do this." And she goes, "Wait, say that again?" And he goes, "We want to be here, Miss Marvel. We signed up. We're doing this for the greater good." And then she goes, "Okay, explain this to me like I'm dumb." And like the dialogue with Adrian's like really well done facial expressions is just, it's perfect. It's why she is so lovable.
My favorite line of hers is still like, "Oh, so you're just a short guy who punches things?"
And back to his R2, he does put time. Every single teenager that she rescues has their own, he put work in developing all these random background characters, which you don't often see.
Yeah, I agree completely. He has this way of humanizing every background character. Like making them feel real, whether you see them for 2 seconds or 2 panels rather, versus like they're on 17 pages versus like 2 panels. Like he puts the same amount of effort into those characters, and that's what I really enjoy with his art.
Patrick, back to your point about the big heads and stuff. Do you remember those old Charlie Brown cartoons where like when the adults would speak, it would be meow 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 meow? I felt like this was a visual representation of the teenagers all looked sort of
that is true
real, but the adults had caricaturized like big heads and weird bodies, and it kind of felt like, oh, the teens are real people and the adults are these inexplicable
your friend of many years, Adrian. But I mean, like maybe that was a choice. Like maybe he did that on purpose.
Oh, that's what I'm. Yeah, 100%. I think.
Oh yeah. Well, did you speak to him about it? Because I mean, you've been friends.
Yeah, he'd let me know.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, I do think that's kind of a cool effect of how he sort of drew the teenagers as real humans and the adults as this other.
Yeah, like these
indecipherable different species,
giant blobs of humans. Yeah.
Because that's what it's like when you're a teenager.
Yeah,
you're young and hot and all that, and then
they're
the
just
adults are
enormous,
just
fat
big-headed
old
weirdos.
people.
I think it was less about the fight at the end. It was more about her inspiring the other teenagers to
not be
voluntarily
guinea pigs. Yeah.
commit suicide to power. They weren't even powering like electrical grids to provide electricity.
No, they're
like,
powering cyborgs.
Yeah, they're powering cyborgs, not like hospitals and stuff. What are you doing?
But I sort of wish they hadn't killed Edison. I don't know.
It's the greater good, Betty.
Did they kill him? They just arrested him. Or did he die?
No, he died. He got crushed by his thing.
Oh, he did get crushed. Yeah, you're right.
And
I mean,
a
he
pet
clearly
peeve of
says
mine.
squawk and then falls into.
But a thing that I hate that movies do this a lot, but it's like when
like why
superhero bad guys die all the time,
Yeah,
and it's like,
stop
why
killing
can't
the
they just be
villains.
heroes? Why can't they just
Why can't
apprehend
they
the
be
villain
heroes?
and not murder them?
What?
Oh, you mean the why can't?
I mean,
the
why
hero
can't
be
the
hero?
heroes not cause the death indirectly or not of a villain? Why can't they just?
Because movies
capture them?
require closure.
I guess,
Well, I
but
mean-
this comic does it too. Like Edison died. Like, why couldn't Kamala
I mean, she
have
tried.
just?
He died because of his own stupid actions.
I know, I get that, but I
But
just,
I
I
get
don't.
your
that's
point, where
that's
it's
the
like-
same thing as like Batman Begins. You know, like I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to save you.
Yeah, I
You know,
hate.
like,
I
it's
hated
dumb.
that
It's
part
dumb.
of Batman
Just-
Begins. Like,
just
why
send
don't
it
you
to
be
the
a
asylum.
hero? Why don't you just be a hero? Why don't you
Yeah.
save people?
Save him anyway.
Yeah,
What did
just
he say in
save
Batman
people.
Begins?
He said, I don't have. He basically said, I'm not going to kill you,
But I don't have to save you.
you.
And then he lets him die.
And then he
It's like,
lets
well,
him die.
thanks, Batman. You're a hero.
That was like Ra's al Ghul, right?
Yeah, it was Ra's al
Well,
Ghul.
still, I don't know. I still like. Maybe it's like very.
But that's the problem. That succinctly sums up the movies. Is the point? Like that's so like a movie thing of like the Joker falls to
Oh,
his
you're
death.
saying
right, and
specifically
Batman
about-
won. The Joker
Yeah,
dies.
yeah. In 1989, Joker falls to his death. Like just send him to Arkham Asylum.
But Joker
Why?
doesn't die in Dark Knight.
Joker doesn't die ever in the comics. Is the point?
Well,
Or
Bane,
he does.
Bane dies in Dark
Bane
Knight,
dies,
right?
yeah.
Like, and Two-Face, they always
Joker
die.
doesn't
in
die in
movies.
Dark Knight, right? Or Dark
Two-Face
Knight.
does.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Two-Face does. Yeah, that's true.
I
You know
just
what,
mean,
like-
why can't heroes just be here? Just like grab the guy. I'm a hero. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
I'm a hero. Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
Back to so anyway, just a tangent, but I just kind of a thing with me is I don't like it when they just kill off villains.
Does this book pass the Bechdel
Does
test?
this pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test. So yeah, this crushes the Bechdel test. She
It
has
really destroys the.
she has
Bechdel test.
convos with her friend Nakia,
Yeah, and her mother,
and she's convos with her mother.
and
they-
she's really discussing her own life.
yeah. They
does not
sometimes they
involve-
talk about they reference
Barely.
boys. They reference
Barely.
boys, but they don't
Barely.
talk
But there's a
about
lot
boys.
of scenes with a female-driven character
Yeah.
discussing.
Crushes the Bechdel test.
Yeah, crushes it.
I mean, it was very
Crushes the sexy lamp test.
Yeah.
You couldn't have a sexy lamp be Kamala.
I think a sexy lamp is like literally the woman has no lines.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's Just
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
It's
so
just there
basically
for-
you mean
yeah.
just a
So if they have one audible word, I think.
okay.
And Zoe has a character, so
Okay.
she's fine.
So anything Brian Bendis writes
All right.
would be a lamppost.
Yeah, Makamori
Passes that.
crushes.
Yeah.
Crushes.
She
it.
learns to harness her powers. and
Now
become a
here's
great
my actual question: where does Kamala Khan register on the Snyder's scale?
She's pretty low. She's not very ripped. She's pretty low.
She's not ripped. She's, you know.
She could form her body into a ripped person.
So
Terry
we've
Wood.
never. So this is an interesting aspect of this because we've never discussed it. Where do shapeshifters fall on the Snyder Zoo scale?
Well, they would be the whole. So, all right.
She's the whole spectrum,
Let's go over
right?
this.
Because she can do everything.
So you know how God.
She could be like, "You want ripped? Here it is."
God.
No, but you know how God is eternal. He is all places at all times.
Yeah.
That's how a shapeshifter is on the Snyder Zoo scale at all values at all times. They are just. They are the scale.
So she simultaneously ranks on the Snyder Zoo scale, but simultaneously doesn't.
Yeah.
rank on
So
the Snyder Zoo
she's
scale.
a 0.8 and a 10 and a 5 and a 2
She's just
and a 0.
she's omnipresent. on
She
the-
is omnipresent
I
on the
feel like
scale.
this is the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, because the shapeshifter, you could be as ripped as you need to be.
Snyder Zeus.
You could be Snyder
She
Zeus.
could be if she wanted to.
Miss Marvel passes the Bechdel test and registers high on the Snyder Zoo scale. This is, I think, the highest ratings we've had
I think
on a
it
comic
possibly a
show.
high on the Snyder Zoo scale because she's all of the Snyder Zoo scale. Right?
Still, I think crushing the Bechdel tests and being
and
a
Makamori,
6,
and not a sexy lamp at all.
yeah,
in this,
and being a
this-
6 on the Snyder Zoo scale is the highest rating of
Yeah.
anything we've covered.
All right. Well, how about recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in getting into comics and you're interested, I mean, I think she's going to be a very popular character for a very long time, and it's a very fun read. So I recommend it.
Okay.
So I know that I spoke positively about it, but I would honestly say don't bother reading it. But so it's weird. I did enjoy it, but at the same time, I don't really recommend it.
I get what you mean, because it's
Yeah.
not like the story wasn't like the most engaging story. She
Yeah.
is a very fun
Yeah.
character. The
Yeah.
art's beautiful, but if someone was wanting to get into comics and you were like, "What should I start my comic?"
Yeah, I
book?"
would not
like.
bring
I
this
wouldn't
up.
immediately go to Miss
bring this
Marvel, but if someone was like, "Hey, have you ever read this?" I would say, "Yeah, it's pretty good. You check it out."
Well, so
Yeah.
my recommendation is like if the trade paperback falls on your head, pick it up and read it. But otherwise, I wouldn't go
All right,
out
so
of my
you're-
way to get it.
So, recommendations. They're based on
Your
you're
butt.
walking down the comic book aisle of life, and like, are you going to pull this book off the shelf and go, "That's the one I want to read," or "That's the one I want to give to someone else to read
I don't
because
wanna
they
have-
haven't read any comics."
I don't want to have this conversation. Just recommend
that's
it or
it.
not.
That's the way. That being said, I think I'm a pass.
Oh wow!
So it's not about who she. I'll say it more eloquently than Alessandro did. It's not about who she is as a character, because she's a strong character, and I really enjoyed who she was, and I enjoyed what she went through and the challenges she faced. I liked her with Wolverine. There was a lot of things that she did that I enjoyed.
You enjoy seeing young women struggle and face
Yeah,
challenges. That's kind
sure.
of sick.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
older, go ahead.
My main takeaway was like, I'm an old man. It's like I've witnessed a lot of superhero origins, and this fell short. Like, it wasn't engaging as an origin story. It wasn't engaging in terms of like how she got her powers, who are her supporting cast. Like, it just fell a little like, okay, well, that's interesting, but that's kind of all it got. And it wasn't like it was bad. It was just not great, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, another superhero origin story. Got it. And that's kind of how I went the whole way. Again, her character, great. Really found her engaging, but that wasn't enough to hold the story for me. So, like, I think as a whole, I would say pass. And I know it's almost in a half-hearted way.
Well, it is
You
strange because I think all three of us enjoyed the book, but yet
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's two passes and one recommendation.
Well,
it's
here's
kind
the
of weird.
thing. Like, I think I'm just I'm too deep in comics, and I'm
Yes.
too I'm not open to new characters anymore. And so like, for a new character to come and wow me at this point in time, it's like,
Yeah.
you need to be bursting off the page. You need to be like electrifying. And I found her interesting, but not electrifying. And I don't. And it's not to say like,
Well, they didn't.
that's a
give her-
horrible character. It was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it was fun. But that doesn't mean I go, hey, read this book, And I think that's where it falls. Adrian Alphona, by the way, fantastic.
All right, true believers. Thanks for listening.
Good journey, everyone.
See you guys.